What's up, everyone? It's the Autistic Scyther here, and honestly, I'm not sure about you, but I am looking forward for spring. Yeah, considering how we have been blistered by blizzards and to the point that more often than not the entire eastern seaboard is buried by snow, which granted, I'm not sure about all of you, but most of us around the East Coast are basically sick of snow. Which is possibly why you're wondering, where is this going? Yeah, when it comes down to it, the only snow that more often than not I tend to like are ice and snow levels in video games. Because there's a sort of whimsy and fun to it. That naturally doesn't come courtesy of shoveling it. Anyway, that being said, might as well count down my 10 favorites. So, that being said, it's time to count down the my top 10 favorite ice and snow levels in video games. I would say one per franchise, but you'll soon see why I am not mentioning this when we get back, when you get into the video, and when we get into later on into this video. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Moving on next, at number 10, we have, of course, Kill Penguin Stage from Mega Man X. Alright, when it comes down to the Mega Man franchise, out of all of them, for most of my life, I only remember playing through the classic stages. And as such, I had a kind of interesting consideration with this, since, I mean, heck, for a while I was considering Blizzard Man stage, since it's more often than not a nice little reference to Canada, since Blizzard Man is from Canada. And even further, Frost Man from Mega Man 8 came to mind. And yes, I know Mega Man 8 is not a popular title for many fans, but I like it. But that being said, things do change. And yeah, Mega Man X essentially took a nice little chunk of my favorite ice stages. And trust me, when I played Mega Man X on my 3DS, when the 3DS eShop, after downloading it from the 3DS eShop, I was floored with how amazing this game was. And keep in mind, I had never played any of the games in the X series since the Mega Man X series before, prior to this point. But that being said, considering everything, Kill Penguin stage, coming after the, immaculate opening stage, Kill Penguin stage seems to be kind of laid back, being a snowy wonderland. But more often than not, it's even more interesting, since the entire Kill Penguin, the entirety of Kill Penguin stage is just kind of your standard ice stage, with machines that throw snowballs at X during his siege, to Buzzsaw throwing Buzzsaw throwing ostriches, is rolling in Buzzsaw-like creatures, ball-like robots that walk towards him to damage him, and of course, the introduction of the ride armor. Yeah. There's a reason why the ride armor became a fan favorite gimmick in the Mega Man X series. And it all starts with this. And in all fairness, I really love the ride armor. Which is saying a lot since I can't get past more than 2 bosses without, well, screwing up Royal. Again, keep in mind I've never played any of the Mega Man X series prior to this point. So yeah. But even with that, you even gain access to the dash and slide parts, which to slide, which is kind of interesting mechanic, thanks to Dr. Light, which really helps you out a lot, especially considering the boss battle against Chill Penguin is, oh boy, pretty hard to say the least, since he's either going to be firing his shotgun ice at you, like rapid fire, sliding across the stage like an actual penguin, or creating ice statues and blizzards. Yeah, fair to say I had a hard time facing off against this guy whenever I did so. And keep in mind, penguins are my favorite animals. However, that being said, I think there's all one reason we all know why this one's at number 10. It's the Hadoken. Honestly, I think many people will tend to focus on this stage just for the fact that you can get the Ryu's Hadoken. Yeah. Capcom, we need more of this. And I think Mega Man X9 is where we... And I think Mega Man X9 would be how we get it. Please. If we're getting dual override, we're due for Mega Man X9. Right. Moving on next at number 9, we have Celeste from Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. Yeah. If you remember about Fire Emblem, and what I mentioned in prior, when I was talking about my favorite Fire Emblem bosses countdown video, I mentioned that Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War has some long maps. So, honestly, I did not get to Celeste. However, that being said, Celeste basically makes an appearance more often than not, and we have some amazing characters who show up in the game. From Celeste's wayward Prince Lewin, to, of course, who basically was a cool wayward prince before Joshua, to the leader of the Pegasus Knights, and the future Queen of Celeste, Aranis. And of course, and even Thracia776 gave us the character of Karen, who was 15 when she joined Leaf's army. Whoopsie! You did a war crime! But anyway, when it comes down to it, Chapter 4 is one of the most interesting chapters, since it takes place entirely in Celeste. And this is after the current reigning queen, Queen Lana, ends up taking in Sigurd and his group, after they are hiding, after they hide out, end up going into hiding, while the Grand Vale army were basically hunting them down. And oh boy, we see a lot with this. And because as it turns out, Granville ended up sniffing them out. And they decided to use this point to basically just wrap up some loose ends. Of course, so basically you have to go around to each of the different kingdoms and basically nip this little territorial dispute in the bud. And naturally you get some interesting lore to this, including in the little dispute between Aranis's sister Anand and two other Pegasus Knights, Pamela and Dithorba, which, honestly, the fact that Dithorba ended up getting into Heroes before Pamela really does say a lot. I mean, heck, we got Juno in Heroes before Sigyun, so that's doubly weird. And even with that, it's one of the more snowier areas, which is just completely and utterly beautiful. Granted, you do have a lot of backtracking, but honestly, it's something that many other ice areas definitely kinda, follow ahead, being Ilya and the Ice Tribe Village from Fates. I wish certain sandy style of levels got the same amount of treatment. Oh, I'm gonna have to do desert levels eventually, but not at this moment. Moving on next at number 8, we have Winters from Earthbound. Yeah. Honestly, considering how the Mother franchise is one of the more lesser known yet cult classic SNES hits, it's kind of fair to say that this franchise is known for some interesting locations. And naturally, while Threed is basic, when you get to Threed and you get trapped in a trap set in a graveyard or in the midst of a zombie invasion, it kind of eventually sidetracks you into a sidekick into a subplot involving your third-party member, Jeff, in the snowy locale of Winters. And the fact you basically find him at a boarding school where he more or less heads on his journey to essentially make his way over to Threed to find him. Yeah, it's kind of a nice little change of pace. Not only do you meet Jeff's friend Tony, who might be more than a friend, but you also meet some interesting characters, including Salsa the Monkey and Dr. Andonuts, who helps Jeff, his son, out in getting to Threed and in order to assist Ness and Paula. Granted, it's one of the more harder areas, especially if you're not prepared like I am. Oh boy, this is why I'm gonna have to get back to it next month. Oh boy, pray for me. But it's still fun nonetheless. Plus, you can find the Loch Ness Monster here. I'm sorry, Tessie here. Yeah. Legally distinct copy. This will be continued in part 2.